Hello, hello. It is nice to be back. How are you doing? What have you been up to? Tell me all things. I want to know everything. And one of the things I want to know is where you stand on niching yourself as a filmmaker. Having your own niche in terms of what you make and what you do. Where do you stand on it? Because it can be a little bit of a controversial topic. Some people love having a niche. Some people think it's equivalent to a death sentence. So I would like to know, because it really is an essential step. If you hate it, I'm sorry. But it is an essential part of being able to get your films financed and picked up and into production and off to wherever it is they need to be going. So we're going to look at why niching is so important, and then how you can figure out your own niche, and most importantly, how you can find a niche that doesn't make you feel boxed in or limited or anything, along those lines. So if you are new here, my name is Charlotte. I am a producer and the filmmaker's career coach, and I'm helping you transform your notebooks full of ideas into a successful full-time filmmaking career. So let's talk about what a niche means. Interestingly, when we look up the definition of niche, it says a specialized segment of the market or industry, but it also says a comfortable or suitable position in life or in employment. And I think that's really interesting, because a lot of filmmakers, myself included, until not that long ago, view niches as a bit of a box that you are just stuck with, rather than a comfortable area or an area you're really happy with. So one of the main reasons, and tell me if you've been doing this as well, or this is what you've been thinking about niches, is that it will really restrict us and limit us, and therefore limit the number of opportunities and offers that we get in. We tend to think that if we're just reducing ourselves down to one role, then we're missing out on so many job offers, so many invoices we could be sending. But actually, it's the opposite. Because for me now, as a producer hiring crew, I don't really want to hire the person that was a sound recordist on their last shoot, but they were also a first AD on the one before that, and then they were a set designer. And if it's a whole mismatched situation going on and they're from completely different departments, then it creates, again, uncertainty on my part, because I don't know if they're actually any good at any of these jobs, or the job that they've applied for on this shoot specifically. There is a difference between doing different jobs that are in the same department. Like if you were a production assistant and then a third AD and then a second and then a first, and then something in the production office, those jobs are all tied in together, and there's a natural progression to all of them. But if you're taking any and every job that comes along and it's a whole mismatched situation, it's tricky to get hired and to get people to take you seriously in whatever role it is you've applied for. So it might feel like you're giving yourself more opportunities to apply for more jobs or whatever it is you want to do with it, but really it is cutting off your nose to spite your face, as my mum would say. So, being a jack of all trades is not really the way to go. It's great for when you're starting out. It's great for being able to work with loads of different teams to figure out what works for you, figure out where you like to be on set, and figure out what works for you. But long term, it's going to be the thing holding you back. And if you want to be getting up to that next level of bigger budgets or bigger projects, or making your own films consistently, whatever that next level is for you, if you don't have a niche yet, or you're not comfortable with your niche, that's going to be something that holds you back from that next level until we figure it out. So the first step is committing to the job that you really want. It doesn't mean you have to ignore everything else that you can do. You can take on the odd other role, again, when they're all in the same department and they all kind of connect to each other, then it fits quite nicely. But commit to the job that you want. And there's usually a little bit of extra work that goes into that. It's not as easy as just saying, oh yeah, no, I'm a director. There's usually a bit of imposter syndrome that can come up. There's a little bit of worrying that you don't have enough experience, or that you're not going to get enough roles in that particular job. So it's not the easiest thing to do. It won't just be like flicking a switch, but it's the first thing we have to do. So the first thing is always the hardest. One of the most important results that comes from committing to that job you really want is that people remember you for it. And this is so important because everyone in this industry has such a short attention span. I'm getting distracted by notifications now, and this is my own video. Like, you see how short the attention span is, right? So when someone knows you as a costume assistant, for example, they will forever see you as a costume assistant. It's really, really hard work to get people to see you as something else. I still get calls and emails from people who hired me as a runner years ago, and they say, oh, we need a runner, are you free? And I'm like, not been a runner in like 4 years, but I'll send you the details of people that I've hired. You know, it's really difficult to get people's perceptions to change over what you do. So again, if you are taking on any and every job, but you know deep down that you want to direct, for example, that's why you really have to commit to that job. And it doesn't mean that you have to forego all other jobs that aren't directing. I know that struggle of building up to directing. But it just means that even if you are hired as a costume assistant on something, you know, when you're talking to someone, say, yes, I'm really into costume, but my long-term goal is directing. Like, just seed it in. Just have that in the back of your mind that you need people to remember you for what you want to be remembered for. So, it's looking pretty good. You know what job it is that you want to do, but it does get to a point where it plateaus, right? People now know you as a director or whatever it is that you want to be doing, but you're not necessarily getting the projects that you love, okay? This is where the power of niching really starts to take hold, because you have the power not just to decide what job it is you want to do, but to decide exactly what type of stories you're drawn to and what type of films you want to work on. It's also a lot easier to become known as the go-to director for interactive films, for example, rather than just a director. You know, when you think about how many other directors there are out in the world, not to freak you out or anything, but it's really difficult to be one in a million. It's a lot easier to be one of a very small group. So if you are the go-to director for interactive films, let's say, it's a lot easier to get to the top of someone's list. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. So we'll put your personal stamp on exactly what you do, and that is like the finishing flourish of niching. So whether you are a writer, director, producer, whatever it is you want to do, think about someone in the film industry that you love. Think about any writer or director or producer or combination that you love, and think about their niche. Tarantino, for example, not necessarily a director that I love, but he's a really good example, because as soon as I say Tarantino, you know exactly what sort of films he makes, you know exactly what sort of projects he takes on, and when you go to see one of his films, you know more or less what you're getting. Even if you have no clue as to what the story is, you know roughly what you're in for. And he is a household name, not just because he's talented, but because he's stuck to that niche. And again, we're going to find a way to find your niche that doesn't feel like a box you're restricted to. It's something that you love. But you start to see how the really high-level creatives, the high-level filmmakers, they know the power of niching, and they know their own niche so well. So how do we find your niche? Or rather, how do we find a niche that you're comfortable with and don't feel boxed in by? So niching is normally done through genre, and I don't love it. It doesn't work. It's the reason it feels restrictive, and it doesn't really serve the majority of indie filmmakers. You know, you might know that generally you're drawn to drama, but what happens when you get a comedy script in that you love? You're kind of undermining your own niche there. So defining your niche by genre is not sustainable, and it's what's going to make you feel boxed in. So the method that I prefer is by story or character, and underpinning it with the stories that you love, the things that you are drawn to and that you feel passionate about. So instead of saying which genre you're most drawn to, we dig into the stories that you love and why you love them, more importantly. So the most efficient way to do this is with a list of your favorite films or TV shows or books or anything along those lines, and start to find out what connects all of them. So you might have 3 dramas and 4 comedies and an action film and an offbeat horror on the, the list of things that you love. This is why genre is too surface level. It's too superficial. It's never going to be deep enough or powerful enough. But there will be something deeper that connects everything on your list, and that is your niche, even if you don't know it yet. So we write out that list, we create that list of things that you love, we work out why you love them, what connects all of them, and that is the making of your niche. So a client of mine started her list off with Mary Poppins and the girl with the dragon tattoo, but the Swedish version. And so this told me that the stories she was most drawn to were women who come out of nowhere, like quite literally in Mary Poppins' case, and changing everything for the people around them. So when we dug deeper into that, into the root of her passion, we found out that her niche is making films about unconventional outsiders who inspire people to change the way that they think and act for the better. So because this is at the heart of everything that she loves, it's never going to feel restrictive for her. This is what she's naturally drawn to, and she's been drawn to stories like this all her life, you know. Now in her career as an actress and a producer, she knows exactly what she makes. Everyone else knows exactly what she makes, and they know, her contacts in the industry know what projects she is going to bring to them and what projects they should bring to her. So once you know your niche and it feels authentic and it feels like it really is the root of everything that you're passionate about, be as loud with it as you can be. Put it in your Instagram bio, in your email signature, on business cards, on your website, on your IMDb. Put it everywhere. Again, the power of attention in this industry should not be underestimated. It is so much more powerful trying to grab someone's attention when you say, I make films about unconventional outsiders who inspire others to change for the better, compared to, oh, I'm an actress and a producer. And you see what we mean about becoming one of a small group rather than trying to compete with a million other people. So, recap. Start with a list of your favorites, find out what connects all of them, make sure that connects to your passion, what you're drawn to, and then refine that into one short, sweet, attention-grabbing sentence. I am so excited for you to uncover exactly what your niche is and start to become known as the go-to person for stories like that. If you know your niche, share it in the comments below. I would love to hear about what you're making and what you want to be making. And if you want some help with figuring out your niche specifically, DM me the word niche and we will go through it. So for now, I will leave you to think about all the projects that you love, all the stories that you love, and find out what underpins all of them. Again, if you need any help with it, just send me a DM and I will talk to you soon.